What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Another Turnover, the basketball podcast where a basketball fan with no basketball credibility gives his opinions on what's going on in the NBA. Opinions that nobody asked for. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Chris Aaron Murphy, aka Aaron. And ladies and gentlemen, let's just jump right into it. Folks, we're back with another episode. This is the 13th episode of Another Turnover for Season 5, the 93rd episode in total. Obviously, if you're an avid listener, I took a short hiatus during the spring, was taking a course for human resources and all that stuff, so your boy got busy. Could have hit 100 episodes this season, but it's all right. There's always next season. But let's dive right in. Let's talk about the NBA Finals, because at the time you're probably listening to this, Game 4 is tonight. With the Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Game 3 happened. Well, I'm recording this on Thursday night, so Game 3 happened last night or Wednesday night. The Pacers are now leading 2-1 after winning Game 3. So winning Game 1, Oklahoma City wins Game 2. Pacers have no won Game 3 as of the time we're recording. So obviously my Oklahoma City Thunder prediction is now wrong. So I mean they could still win it. They could still win it, but I was completely wrong. So let's break down so far what's happened in these first 3 games. So obviously, like I just mentioned, Game 1, the Pacers won in thrilling fashion. Final score was 111-110. And this was a crazy game, mostly because Oklahoma City led the entire game, like genuinely led all up until that final shot from Tyrese Halliburton with about 0.3 seconds left. He hit that 18-foot jump shot just inside the 3-point line. And I was taking a look at the box score, doing my research for the show. Pacers did not play a great or even a good game. Like there's no reason why they should have won that game. I mean, they turned the ball over 25 times, had 20 turnovers in the first half. I thought they were shouting out the show with the amount of times the commentators said, another turnover for the Pacers, another turnover for the Pacers. I was like, hey, appreciate the shout out, y'all. But no, they turned the ball over 20 times in the first half, 25 times in total. So if you told me that the Pacers were going to win, were going to turn the ball over 25 times and still win, I would think you were not the brightest person. I'll just say that. But, I was taking a look at the stats. Oklahoma City did not capitalize on those turnovers the way they should have. Taking a look at the, the statistics, they only had 11 points off of turnovers. So didn't really capitalize on all those turnovers. They should have had a lot more points from 25 turnovers by the Pacers. But the Pacers also out-rebounded the Oklahoma City Thunder. When I was taking a look, by 17, they had 56 rebounds to the Oklahoma City Thunder's 39. They also made more three-point shots. They hit 18 of them versus the Thunder's 11. So, with the combination of all that, but obviously the main reason why they won is because of that last shot by Tyrese Halliburton. Pretty much every other team stat was pretty close, but, Pacers win was basically, like I said, not capitalizing on turnovers from the Thunder, and then the Pacers out-rebounding and making more three-point shots. So they won Game 1, the Pacers, that is. But Game 2, the Thunder obviously won that game in convincing fashion. If you've been following along, final score was 123-107, making the series tied 1-1 after Game 2. And this was the expected bounce-back game, right? It was very, very unlikely that the Pacers were going to win both games in Oklahoma City. But if you're the road team getting the split one of the first 2 games, you're in good shape. That's really where you want to be. But I definitely did not expect Oklahoma City to lose both games at home. Stranger things have happened, but I'm not surprised that they won that game. So their defense really shined in that Game 2. It really caused problems for the Pacers overall, and probably part of it too with the Pacers doing what they did in Game 1, winning in convincing fashion. Probably took their foot off the gas a bit. I mean, when I was watching, that's kind of how it seemed. But you had 5 guys with 15 points or more for Oklahoma City. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP, had 34, 35 in Game 2. The highest scorer on the Indiana Pacers was Tyrese Halliburton with 17 points. I believe he shot 7 of 13 from the field, if I'm not mistaken. But Oklahoma City did what they were supposed to do. They won game 2, and then you put yourself in okay shape going to Indianapolis for game 3. Speaking of which, game 3, just like I said, won by the Pacers. Final score was 116 to 107 to put the Pacers up 2-1 in this series. And this was a great back and forth game, overall. The Pacers were down by 5 going into the fourth quarter. With about a minute to go, they had about a 7 to 8 point lead, and they pretty much held on. So why did the Pacers win game 3? What was different in game 3 than the first 2 games? So multiple reasons why they won, at least in my opinion. The main reason, like the story of game 3, was the bench for Indiana. They had 49 points off the bench. I mean, TJ McConnell was scoring, you had Obi Toppin was scoring, but Oklahoma City only scored 18 points off the bench. They definitely don't play as deep of a lineup as Indiana Pacers do. Indiana Pacers usually play 10 guys, but that bench, 49 to 18 is a huge discrepancy. I got to shout out Ben Mathurin. He had 27 points, shot 9 of 12 from the field. Missing 3 shots is insane, whether you're a starter or a bench player, but have 27 points off the bench. He was the MVP of that game, or, he deserved the game ball. But Tyrese Halliburton was really aggressive as well, was also one of the reasons why they won this game. Driving to the basket, and he's not a bad finisher at the basket, but the main part of his game is the way he facilitates, and he was driving to the basket very aggressively in a way that really made the Oklahoma City Thunder defense have to react to him with how aggressive he was driving to the basket. He had a near triple double as well. He had 22 points, 11 assists, 9 rebounds. I think I saw a statistic today that said if he scores more than 20 points and 11 assists in these playoffs, they're undefeated, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to double check that statistic, but it was some crazy statistic like that. For him to score over 20 points and 11 assists, it's statistically a guaranteed win for the Indiana Pacers. But I also got to give credit to the Pacers defense. Their defense is solid, especially down the stretch. When it looked like Oklahoma City might tie the game back up, they were up by like 10, and then Caruso hit 2 free throws. They were down by 8, and then I think it went down all the way down to 6, and I was like, oh, Oklahoma City, they might come back. It was about the final 2 minutes of the game, but their defense was solid. Statistically, they had 13 steals, 11 blocks compared to Oklahoma City's 6 steals and 4 blocks. So on the statistic side of it all, played really well when it came to steals and blocks. But big shout out to their defense. That was also a reason why they won that game. So bench scoring, 49 to 18. Tyrese Halliburton being aggressive, driving to the basket, and having a near triple double, and their defense. Those are the big reasons why they won that game. But I gotta say, I was wrong about this Pacers team. I've been wrong. I think I picked them to beat the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I ended up picking against them in Cleveland, and then I think I ended up picking against them with the New York Knicks. So I've been wrong about this Pacers team. They have not lost a back-to-back game. I was looking at it today since March. Have not lost a back-to-back game since March, which is insane. Just like I mentioned earlier, their defense is underrated. They just really have a solid collection of talent that fits well together, and it's kind of gone against the grain because over the past 10 plus years or so, it's been you got to have multiple superstars, you got to have at least 2 superstars, got to have at least 3 superstars. But look what's happened with a team like Phoenix, for instance. You had Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, couldn't make the playoffs. 3, legitimate superstars couldn't make the playoffs because the surrounding parts around them, and then injuries, of course, or whatnot, kind of did the Phoenix Suns in. But you have a solid star in Tyrese Halliburton. There's a whole debate on whether he's a superstar or not, which is stupid in my opinion. But you've got Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam as your 2 best guys, and then you got some really solid players that fit well with them. So hats off to them. Also, a fun statistic I saw. I'm a stats guy. I love stats, but Caitlin Clark was in attendance for this game 3, and they are 8-0 this playoffs when Caitlin Clark is in attendance. So if she keeps coming to the games, statistically speaking, the Pacers should win, right? But I thought that was a pretty cool stat. 8-0 and Caitlin Clark. Obviously, if you don't not familiar with Caitlin Clark, WNBA player, WNBA superstar that plays for the Indiana Fever. But the series is not over yet. I'm not gonna panic. I'm gonna go down with the ship. I'm still picking Oklahoma City to win it. I mean, at this point, I gotta pick Oklahoma City, right? My reputation's on the line. Obviously, I picked Oklahoma City in 5. Already incorrect about that, but I'm going down with the ship. I'm loyal, still going with Oklahoma City, even though everything within me is telling me the opposite. But I do expect Oklahoma City to come out very aggressive for Game 4, and probably tie this series up. I was telling my wife, I'm pretty sure the series is going to go back to Oklahoma City 2-2. And that was before Game 3, regardless of who won. I was like, they're probably going to split these next 2 games again. And then you got a best 2 out of 3. And if you're Oklahoma City, you got to feel good if you tie the series up at 2-2 because you got home court advantage. We saw that earlier in the playoffs with Oklahoma City and Denver. Denver was up 2-1, basically the same thing. They won Game 1. They lost Game 2, Denver that is, and Denver won Game 3 at home, 2-1, and then they ended up losing Game 4, and it was 2-2 back in Denver. So we've seen Oklahoma City come back, beat a really solid Denver team, them being down 2-1. So the series is not over. I'm definitely not one to panic or overreact, but if they don't win Game 4, the series is probably over. But I've been wrong before, so we shall see what happens. But also wanted to talk about on today's show, pivoting just a little bit here, other than the NBA Finals. Let's talk about what's going on with the New York Knicks. So if you're not familiar, you're not keeping up, the New York Knicks obviously fired their head coach, shortly after the Eastern Conference Finals, losing to the Indiana Pacers, which I called, by the way. I should have recorded it. I was talking to my wife, and I said, if the Knicks lose this series, Tom Thibodeau's getting fired. And she didn't really understand why that was, so I was trying to, she's new to the game, y'all, give her some grace. She didn't really understand, and I'm like, it's just the way it works. Coaches get scapegoated in the NBA. That's just unfortunate for how it goes. But it's not looking good for the franchise in the Big Apple in terms of their coaching search. Like I said, firing Tom Thibodeau right after the Eastern Conference Finals. It's been reported by ESPN's Shams Charania that they have requested permission to speak to multiple head coaches across the league, current head coaches who've got jobs with other teams. I was taking a look, and it's funny, but it's not funny at the same time, probably, if you're New York Knicks fans. But it's been reported by Shams Charania that the Knicks have reached out to the Dallas Mavericks to speak to Jason Kidd. Mavericks said no. Probably still salty with the Jalen Brunson trade for giving up Jalen Brunson. Or no, it was Jalen Brunson left in free agency, if I'm not mistaken. I know there was some controversy there because Brunson's dad, Rick Brunson, is his name Rick? I know his dad works for the New York Knicks, so I'm not surprised that Dallas Mavericks said no. And Jason Kidd's a good coach. But the Houston Rockets, they requested to speak to Ime Udoka. Houston Rockets said no. The Minnesota Timberwolves head coach Chris Finch, they requested to speak to him. Minnesota said no. Also requested to speak to Chicago's head coach Billy Donovan. The Bulls said no. And then the Atlanta Hawks, they requested to speak to Quinn Snyder, and they said yes. Just kidding. Actually, they said no. So 0 for 5 so far in the coaching search in terms of just having a conversation. So this is kind of unprecedented. I know, the teams have to get permissions for their current head coaches to speak to another team, but to have 5 different teams tell you no. I mean, I'm surprised that the New York Knicks didn't have a plan in place after firing, Tom Thibodeau. Now, the report came out today from Brian Windhorst where that the Knicks front office, GM, president of basketball operations, whoever it was, came to the Knicks players and they basically said, hey, yeah, we need a new voice in the locker room. So this is not fully on the front office. It's partly on the players, but I feel like it's mostly on the front office because they're the ones that have the hiring decision, right, at the end of the day. But how do you not have a strategy on who your coaching targets are? Like Tom Thibodeau, I mean, I'm not saying he's the greatest coach ever, but he helped bring the Knicks back from the island of irrelevancy, from what I like to call it. I mean, the Knicks have been terrible As long as I've been alive, I just turned 30. As long as I've been alive, for the most part, the Knicks have been trash. And I used to kind of like the Knicks when Carmelo Anthony was there. They were never a legitimate playoff threat. They've been irrelevant for a very long time, but he got them back to the conference finals for the first time in 25 years. Should he have gotten another year with this squad or maybe some retooling? Probably. That's my gut feeling, but how do you not have a plan in place? Like you really should have had, a plan, a strategic plan like, hey, this is what we're going to do if we go ahead and fire, Coach Tibbs, and this is the plan that we're going to go with. And maybe their plan was, talking to those, 5 teams about their current head coaches, and it backfired on them completely. But crazy work from the New York Knicks. But my dad, he mentioned it before. He grew up in New York City, for those that don't know, and he's like, the Knicks are notorious for making bad decisions. If you think back to, I'm going to throw out a name, Allen Houston from back in the day, they're probably still paying him with that terrible contract they gave him. I mean, so many different elements of the Knicks, they just they just don't make the best decisions. But I say all that to say, who should the Knicks target in their coaching search? Now, this is my wish list. Do I think they're going to target any of these coaches? No, I really don't. But this is my wish list. This is who I think they should go out after, my top 3 personally. Number 1, it's got to be Mark Jackson. And I'm upset because I wrote this show, and then First Take came out today, and I caught some of the highlights of First Take, and Stephen A. Smith said the same thing. So I don't want people to think I'm stealing this from Stephen A. Smith. Like this, I mean, of course, we're thinking the same thing. We have the same opinion, which is not, uncommon. But I was thinking this before I watched First Take this morning. But anyway, I think Mark Jackson, New York native, he played for the Knicks, won Rookie of the Year with the Knicks in 1987, 1988, if I'm not mistaken. Played for the Knicks. He would be welcomed in New York City. He would be loved. I mean, the fact that Mark Jackson has not got another coaching opportunity after coaching the Golden State Warriors with young Steph, young Clay, young Draymond, and teeing up that Warriors team for Steve Kerr to come in and take over. And I'm not saying Steve Kerr's a bad coach. All I'm saying is the Warriors were headed in that direction with Mark Jackson, and because of the work that Mark Jackson put in and the foundation that Mark Jackson laid. So I think the Knicks should interview Mark Jackson and offer him the job. I know he's been blackballed for however many years now. He got fired, I think 10, 11 years ago from the Golden State Warriors, and has not had another opportunity, has not sniffed another opportunity since, which is crazy. But I think Mark Jackson, New York native, he should definitely, they should consider him. Also, another name they should consider, Jay Wright, former Villanova coach. He is retired now and has said multiple times that he is happily retired, would not want to coach in the NBA. But he's got ties to Jalen Brunson, won a chip with Jalen Brunson in college. So, I mean, I think Jay Wright would be a solid choice, at least in my opinion. That's obviously if he wants to come out of retirement, which he said he doesn't. But, money talks at the end of the day, right? Also, you've got Mike Malone, who just recently got fired from Denver right before the playoffs. Won a championship in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Also a New York native. I think he's from Queens, which I did not know until I was doing my research for the show today. I think Mike Malone might be a solid choice if you're going with recent NBA coaches who have, been let go or been in the coaching system. And I mean, like I said, he's a champion, won the championship with the Denver Nuggets in 2023. Also, honorable mention, Sam Cassell. Sam Cassell has been a assistant coach for how many years now? Like 20 plus years. The fact that he's not gotten an opportunity when he is well loved by players, a former player himself. I mean, known as just a player's coach, a really great guy. The fact that he's not gotten an opportunity in the NBA is pretty baffling. And JJ Redick got one before him with no coaching experience. That's another story for another day. But I think Sam Cassell should get some serious consideration as well. But that's my wish list: Mark Jackson, Jay Wright, Mike Malone, and Sam Cassell. Do I think the Knicks are going to hire any of those 4? Probably not. They're going to probably hire someone else, knowing the Knicks, but that's who I think they should go after. But what do I know? I'm a fan. But But folks, that's all the show I have for you fine folks this evening. Thank you so much for listening. If you could do all the good things, like I always say, like, share, subscribe, leave comments, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm very much looking to Game 4. Game 4 is tonight, if you're listening to this, at 8:30 Eastern Time. Should be good. Like I said, the Pacers win this game. It's likely they win this series. If Oklahoma City ties it, I think we're in for a long one. But like I said, like, share, subscribe, leave comments, watch the game. Take care, have a great weekend, and I will see you next week.